Welcome to the World Chess Championship 2014. Magnus Carlsen, defending world champion from Norway, rated 2863. Highest rating ever in the history of chess. Looking to defend his title. Magnus won it last year from former world champion Vishy Anand, seen here, ex-world champion from India. Vishy's looking for revenge. It's going to be a great match. Stay tuned for the games. Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Well, the Tiger from Chennai finally draws blood on Magnus Carlsen. Round 3 of the World Chess Championship 2014. If you remember from last year, Vishy did not win one game. Today, he draws first blood. Ties up the match at 1.5 points each. Let's get to it. Anand is white, Carlsen is black. I also want to say at the end of this video is the press conference after round 3. Give some of their thoughts and ideas. Going to be a Queen's Gambit decline. Let's go through it. This is a great game. This is a great game. This is kind of like reversed. Usually it's Carlsen that's slowly squeezing you to death. And when you turn around, you have nowhere to go. Vishy does it this time. And you'll see in the press conference at the end, Vishy was very well prepared. That's part of his experience. And this is an important win for Vishy. Not like anything against Magnus. I like Magnus too. But as a fan, I like to see a close match. This is vintage Vishy. Easy for me to say. One of the most well-prepared grandmasters in the world. I think Ivanchuk, Garry Kasparov, Anand, Gelfand, and Kramnik are incredibly well prepared. Anyway, bishop b4, e3 for Vishy, knight b to d7 for Magnus, c5, closing it up, c6. Now what's that light squared bishop for black going to do? Going to have a hell of a time getting out. Bishop, pawn, b4. Now I have to say, all the moves here are all booked. This is all preparation. And in fact, they talk about a game, this is similar to a game that Anand played in Bilbao against Mickey Adams, I think he said. But just a little bit different. a5, a3, bishop a6. These are all computer moves. That's a great way to get rid of the light squared bishop for black. That's white supposedly good bishop, and he gets to get rid of his bishop, so that's well done there. Rook takes. Now this is where things change. This is pretty much a known position to both of these players here. Computer likes queen to b1, queen to e2. But Vishy changed it up a little bit. b5. Now it said it gave it small advantage to black, but I think, yeah, computers have no emotion. They don't get confused. They don't forget their preparation. They don't forget move orders. They're just hard, cold calculation. And I think this is an important point here for Vishy, is that this gets incredibly complicated. And I think it'll put Magnus off a little bit. Now this is where Magnus starts taking a lot of time. He finally takes c6. That pawn gets pushed through. That was the entire point. Queen to c8. You can't protect it, so you might as well push it. Now this bishop becomes very important. And you'll see later in the game. b4. Knight b5. Beautiful. Beautiful. The threat is a bunch of them, actually. Bishop here. If bishop takes, knight takes. Any queens. Guards the pawn. Nice. About an even game on the computer, but when you're backed up like this as black, it's tough. I don't care if you're Magnus or not. a4. What to do here? Rook to c1. Guard your passed pawn. That is the crown jewel of your position. Knight to e4. Not as good as b takes. And after bishop d6, rook a5, bishop takes, rook takes, bishop takes, and that's not good for white, or excuse me, not good for black at all. After knight to e4, I like this move a lot. Knight g5. Now you can't play, you want knight here, you can't play knight takes. After bishop, rook a takes, rook takes, bishop takes. That's a pretty good advantage for white. Now let's pause for a minute and just check this position out here. Computer's got a tiny advantage for black, but I'll tell you the truth, it's a lot easier to play white in this position here. That c7 pawn is a monster. Absolute monster. Can black go b3 later? I don't know. We'll have to see. Start some counterplay. Who knows? But Vichy decided to play knight takes. Knight takes. D takes, I think, is worth looking at. And then after knight d6, bishop takes, b3, bishop takes, king takes. Now white's down the exchange, but black's got a ton of counterplay here, I think. Especially if you secure the queen side and hold that c7 pawn at bay. You start pushing the b pawn, you're going to have a couple of passed pawns. That could be extremely dangerous. Computer shows this position is dead even, by the way. After knight takes, chase the knight off. He goes rook a5. He attacks the other knight instead. And after f takes, rook takes, queen takes. White's crept up a little bit in score. But like I say again, this is way easier to play for white. And Magnus started getting into time trouble, which is very much unlike Magnus. We're on move 21 now. And as he was getting down to the end, he had maybe a minute and a half a move for the last 5 or 6 moves. He was right down to the end. He was using all his time, which tells me he was very uncomfortable with the position. Rook to a5 to hit the queen. Queen goes to c6. That's a beautiful spot for that queen. Beautiful. How is black going to get rid of that queen there? And that queen can do all kinds of damage there. B takes. Now that pawn looks really dangerous, but not really. E takes. Magnus made the right decision. I think A takes is a mistake. He took with a rook. Queen takes. And here we are. Now, I'm not going to tell you what the computer says right now. Look at this position and tell me, what would you rather have, white or black? I think almost everyone, even an amateur average player like me, would take white in a second. But the computer only shows less than 3/4 of a pawn advantage for white. But Magnus, he just looked... Those of us that play chess, and the guys that are listening to this video, I'm sure you do, when you're playing in a tournament game and you're constantly on your heels, no counterplay, this is what Magnus usually does to other people. He's not used to being on the receiving end. And this is game 3 of the World Championship, and he's up 1.5 points to a half. This is an important, if Magnus can pull this off. And now he's probably hoping just to scrounge a draw. And psychologically, that's tough for Magnus. Queen to d7. Try desperately to get the rook over to c8 maybe. White just castles. And you're not just protecting your king, you're getting the other rook into play. Rook to c8, get that queen off. You can't leave that queen stuck there. Rook c6, beautiful move, beautiful move. Now, queen a6 is a close second, queen a7. I like queen a6 a lot for a bunch of reasons. One, it just puts more pressure on. You're going to bring the other rook around sometime. Release that queen on b6 to do some more damage somewhere. And on top of that, it restricts black's queen from getting out. g5. Now, bishop b4 was a suggestion. After queen to b7, g5, bishop e5. After g5, he just moves the bishop back. Now we're move 27, and Magnus' time was getting very short. Vichy moved immediately, of course, because that's basically the only move per se. Bishop to b4. Now I think Magnus is grasping at straws here. He's feeling the pressure. He thinks he's going to lose this game. It's getting out of his control. And that's these grandmasters, especially the world-class players that these guys are. When you start losing control is when you start getting really uncomfortable. He went b4, rook a1. Now, interesting might have been queen takes, queen takes, queen takes, rook takes, bishop takes, queen takes. And that would have been great for Carlsen as black. It's a dead even position. That's not what happened. Now this is where Magnus, I think, miscues. It's just the pressure. Granted, he's about half of Vichy's age, and his mental and physical stamina, I'm sure, is greater, but remember, he's the defending champion now. Vichy has nothing to lose on this one, besides his pride. He can't lose the title, he already lost it. And nothing's more dangerous than someone who has nothing to lose. And Vichy's not going to let up the pressure. Now the computer likes king to g7, g4. Magnus miscues here. He goes bishop a5. And immediately the points jump up. What a huge mistake. g4 still would have sucked for black, but after bishop a5, queen a6, well, you see why, of course, why you can't take. Because queen takes. Queen a6. And now Magnus miscues again. Very unlike him do you see an analyzed game with Magnus Carlsen with 2 question marks and 2 moves in a row. Very, very rare. g4, rook takes c7, and so forth and so forth. Magnus plays bishop takes c7, and the computer now is over 2 3/4 point ahead for white. Gotta remember now, black's up a pawn. For those of you that haven't counted, if he had gone h5 instead, I think the good continuation would have been e4, rook takes, queen takes, rook d1 check, rook takes, queen e1, queen checks, bishop f2. It still really sucks badly for black. And I use that word in position really sucks, as you'll see in the press conference. Magnus uses that to describe the game. So I'm using that for a purpose. Queen to c4. Beautiful. Beautiful. Saves all kinds of tricks. Like rook takes, pawn takes, queen takes. Just clamps him down. Clamps him down. What can he do? He goes e5. Another big mistake. Rook a5. Rook takes, queen takes. Bishop takes. Rook a7. It's still a huge advantage. It's a piece for a pawn. But the crazy part is that's a better scenario than what happened. After e5, bishop takes, rook takes, d takes, queen e7. Where's he going to go? He's got to guard the bishop. e6. Great move there. Great move there. Try to bust up white's king side, or excuse me, black's king side. e6. What's he going to do here? Plays king f8 and it just drives up the points. Queen is not much help. Rook takes, that's the end of that. After king to f8, rook to c1. It is now over almost a 7-point advantage now. 6-point advantage for white. And that's where Magnus Carlsen, current world champion, resigns Vichy finally draws blood on Magnus. Give you an idea what would have happened after bishop takes, check, king takes, rook takes, queen takes, queen takes, queen takes, pawn takes, g4. I mean, you're down a rook for 2 pawns. It's over. So well done by Vichy. That's the Vichy of old. Magnus was a little back on his heels this time. It kind of reminds me when he was back on his heels in a tournament in, I think it was in Austria, where my buddy Carl Nakamura had Magnus. He had him dead cold, and he messed up. And it was unusual for Carlsen to be so cornered and so feeling so helpless and so out of control. So kudos to Vichy. Now the match is tied up, a game and a half apiece. Tomorrow is round 4. Hope to have that for you. So great game by Vichy. It's going to be a great match. I think it's the odds were in Magnus's favor in this match, to be certain. I think now if you check with any bookmakers in England or anywhere else, I think the odds are still in Magnus's favor, but they're significantly lowered. Anyway, folks, I want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
Okay. So, dear chess fans all around the world, welcome to our press conference. The third game of the World Championship match finished in favor of Vishwanathan Anand. So I would like to give him a floor. Can you please tell what happened in this game?
Well, I went for a line that Levon, for instance, has been playing. He played with Mickey in Bilbao. And we got to this position. And the point is, it's important to take here. And the difference in pawns is what I'm playing for. My pawn on c7 restricts black much more than the pawn on a3, though of course it's only one move away from doing that. Rook takes b5. I have to pause for this because otherwise he plays b5. He went queen d7, castles. I was considering queen a6 because he's more or less forced to go here, and then I can improve my queen, but then suddenly he can go rook a5 and a2, or maybe check somewhere. I wasn't sure. I was quite happy when I saw rook c6, so I went for that.
But from which point did you start to play the game? I mean, what was not prepared?
Well, of course, because there were so many variations, I can't tell you exactly. I think probably queen b6 was still in my prep, but maybe it goes further. He went g5, bishop g3. I mean, it's a very complicated position still. I mean, of course, white is the one trying, but black has all sorts of moves here and there, and the situation is still very tense. But he went bishop b4, which I hadn't seen actually. My first idea was to come rook c2 or rook c4. But then I realized that instead of moving the bishop, he'll start repeating with the rook. And then this came up, the idea came up, why not do it with the other rook? That way I watch a3 always. So now if the bishop goes back, I can just play some prophylactic move like h3, and queen b7 is coming. So he went here, and after this I think black is just collapsing very fast. I mean, he can go bishop b4, but already I have some forced lines like rook b6, rook a5 takes, and either takes or yeah, it should be good. So, and then this move was nice. The problem with maybe there isn't one with rook c1. Yeah,
because they get rook a.
No, rook c1, sorry, rook a5 is the, and a2, and in fact the rook just has to go back at that. So it's important to do it with the queen. e5. Well, now I knew I was winning already, so it's just a question of being careful. So all I need is this move. The problem is directly rook c1, he can throw the pawn and still get this queen e5, so well, e6.
You want to avoid it.
Yeah, rook c1 or rook f1 and then c1. So it's basically over.
Yeah. Magnus, question for you. What went wrong in this game? And can you start from the opening? Let's say, were you surprised?
No, it was poor choice of opening. He was very well prepared and played very well from then on. And I don't know. I could have done better, obviously, but it was difficult.
Why do you say the position was difficult for you? I mean, can you explain, let's say, how did you estimate it at some points, some key points during the game?
I was trying to hold on. I'd seen this position from afar, this stuff with Queen b6. I thought the position should be a little bit worse, but I should be able to neutralize it. But yeah, then he got this rook c6 and all this stuff with g5, bishop b4 doesn't work at all. Otherwise, I don't see what I can do. So I think I have to do something else earlier on, probably.
Vishy, what does this victory mean for you? After so many years, you haven't beaten Magnus in classical chess.
Well, obviously, I'm quite pleased.
Okay. So, do we have questions, please? Микрофон, пожалуйста.
Магнус, вы не жалеете о своем дебютном выборе сегодняшнем?
Question to Magnus: do you regret your opening choice today?
Yeah, as I said, it was not a good choice. He was well prepared and got a very good position, so you can't do much worse than that.
Еще вопрос? Okay. Микрофон, пожалуйста, вот вопрос.
Anand, how much time did you spend preparing yesterday, and how did you get over Sunday's loss?
Well, I spent some time preparing, of course, but also some time just trying to unwind. I went to the gym for a while, just tried to. So I didn't want to prepare the whole day either, and I don't have a figure, but I would guess I prepared for maybe 3 or 4 hours, something like that.
And Magnus, we know you played basketball yesterday. How much time did you spend preparing, and do you think you should have done anything different?
I spent quite a lot of time preparing, but too little on what happened in the game. So what can I say? He was much better prepared for this line, and he played it better. So.
Magnus, were you surprised at his preparation?
Well, I was definitely surprised at some point, I can say that, but I mean, he's well prepared, and yeah, he was well prepared in the first game, and he was well prepared today.
Magnus, how much of today's play is a part of your second's preparations, and how much is up to your own choice?
Nah, when something goes wrong, it's always my fault, so that's okay.
New York 95 on Encore, now you're on the winning side tonight.
Well, I mean, definitely it's nice to have an idea to play in the system, so sure.
Question for Vishy, peterdoggers.chess.com. After about 2 hours on Twitter, people suddenly discovered that the whole sequence with including rook c6 was played in Tomaszewski, Ryazantsev, but the pawn on h3 instead of on h2. Is it safe to say that you discovered that a bit earlier?
The thing is, I am or was familiar with all the material, but Of course, there are differences in every position, with the modern H3, without, and so on. But I also had to check other openings. So it's not like I spent all day on this line. I had to check other stuff as well, and this was, but luckily, this one I managed to play quite well and remember what to do and so on.
Anand, last year you never came back from the first loss. What made the difference this time?
I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously happy with the win today, but well, I guess the main thing is that I had a good idea which I could use, and I managed to play quite well after that. Quite happy with, for instance, Rook A1. So.
Can you say that your strategy worked? Let's say you said before the match that you are going to make some changes in your strategy.
Well, all this we can discuss after the match.
Okay.
Можно еще вопрос? У меня вот как бы участника пресс-конференции вопросы. Вот первый, условия здесь в Сочи, все ли вас устраивает по организации, может, что не нравится? И второе, вот день отдыха, он все-таки помогает? Или есть такое мнение, что вот он может расслаблять и иногда мешать? Спасибо.
The question is for the both players. The first part is about the organizational things here. How do you feel to be here, and are you satisfied with everything? And do you like Sochi? And the second part of the question is about the rest day. There is an opinion that sometimes the rest day can actually be the day when you can relax too much. So does it help you to have rest day, or it can be opposite?
Well, I've already answered the first question on several occasions. Everything is fine here. The organization is excellent. I have nothing to add. I mean, it's just fine. And rest days, well, you need them as well. Obviously, you can use them or misuse them and all that, but you definitely, I think I found a reasonable balance between working and relaxing.
Magnus?
Yeah, I think your mood changes from day to day, but on average, rest days are quite helpful.
Magnus, you started the first two games very well. What does this loss mean for your mindset on the rest of the game?
Oh, it's more difficult now, obviously, but I think in such a match you cannot overreact to either wins or losses. Just have to, be in the right state of mind for the next game. I mean, I've recovered well after losses before, so it's very bad result for me, very good result for him, but match goes on, and still a long way to go.
Yep. Okay. Please, last.
Magnus, we know you don't like losing. How frustrated are you?
Well, it's the kind of game where everything went wrong from the start. I didn't have many chances, and that sucks, but but there will be chances in other games.
You're going to do anything in particular to put it behind you?
I don't know. I guess the key thing is to avoid being self-destructive, but that's sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not.
And the very last question.
Anand, what does this do to your confidence, and would you say that the Tiger is back?
Look, I'm very happy with the result. It's a good result, but I mean, there's still a match to play. There's still a game to play tomorrow. So let's take it one step at a time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for joining our press conference. Thank you.